Welcome, everyone, to the Around the Ballpark podcast. My name is Mike Redman. I am your co-host alongside my brother, Darren Redman, and tonight is Thursday night, March the 20th. We are just 1 week away from the opening of the Major League Baseball season. Technically, they started a little bit 48 hours ago in Japan, but they're going to come back and play some more spring training games. So the official start is a week from tonight. With that said, it is not just us here tonight. We have a very special guest. Bobby is here with us, and we're going to get to know Bobby here in just a moment. But before we do, Darren, would you mind spending a few minutes or a minute or so on our sponsor, our great folks at Nashville Tax Solutions?
Attention, Palm Bay and Fort Pierce. Are you struggling with tax issues? I'm doing this. I do this. I do this wonderfully all the time. But my boy Bobby's with me.
You're struggling hard with those tax issues today.
Inside, he's laughing at me. So, struggling with tax issues? Whether you're behind on filings, dealing with a lien, or just need expert guidance, Nashville Tax Solutions here to help. Their team knows the ins and outs of tax relief and is ready to fight for you. But don't just take Mike's word for it. Don't take my word for it. Listen to what some of Chris Bennett's clients have had to say. Chris Bennett and his team saved me from a financial nightmare. They are knowledgeable, clear, and compassionate. So don't let tax issues keep you up at night. Call 855-627-4829. Visit NashvilleTaxSolutions.com or email info@NashvilleTaxSolutions.com today. Nashville Tax Solutions, because tax problems deserve real solutions.
Yes, and if you missed any of that, we have that fun little ticker at the bottom of the screen. You can find their number, their name, all that good stuff, and you can contact them tomorrow. I just remembered yesterday that I still have to file my taxes for 2025, so it was a good thing that we have the sponsor to keep that refreshed in my mind, so I just set that up for next week. But with that said, we are here to talk a little bit about baseball, a little bit about pizza. We're going to talk a little bit of some other stuff as well. But we have a special guest of honor, Bobby. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Just, if you wouldn't mind, just a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Yes. Hey, guys. How are you? Been a longtime friend of Darren since college days, which is a long time ago now.
Yeah, he's a brother.
We've been buddies for a long time. You get a little older. Sometimes you drift a little bit. You know the deal, and then true friends come back, and that's the way it is. And like I said, I met him in college when he was playing football. I was doing some baseball at Brooklyn College, and then I was playing, open ball, more open ball for me at that time. And we click right away. We just always got along, and we have fun. Similar sense of humor. Sports interest, political interest, stuff like that. And, the years go, friend that they go, and here we are. And, like you mentioned about food, pizza stuff I love, anything like that. Job-wise, I was the type, I bounced in and out of a lot of jobs because I was unhappy for a while. So I did teaching, I did weight loss counseling. I work with hotels now. I did day trading, do some of that stuff now. And, I found some more happiness as I've gotten older. Pardon me. And, life's a funny thing. You don't, as we know, like the shifts of life are very bizarre. You think it's going to go a certain way and you go on a journey. It's true. You go on a journey, and older I've gotten humbled in life. Not that I was ever like a wild man or anything, but I've gotten more humbled as I've gotten older.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, and I have a feeling we're gonna have fun here in this 20 minutes that we're gonna have together. I feel like it's gonna be good. But thank
Mike,
you.
I just want to tell you something that our father really, really liked Bobby a lot. You may not know this, but we both work for Dad. Bobby and I doing security, right? It was a.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yes,
did
not know that.
In fact,
learning something new.
I'm sorry. In fact, I'm sorry. I remember seeing your dad, Darren. The first time I became friends with Darren on Facebook, I saw you the same day diner. And it was funny, like the timing was, we spoke for a little while. and then Darren and I became friends that same day. And I like your dad. Obviously, I like your dad. I'm obviously, I know he did police work, which, let's face it takes a lot of courage to do that. And I remember this talking to him at the house back in parts of Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing how the years go. Like I said, it's very, very humbling. Getting older, watching your parents, pass on also is very humbling. And it's just the way it's the nature of life.
Yeah, you mentioned, with him being a police officer and most of the family being police officers. And I remember one of my favorite memories down here with him in Palm Bay. They have this 1013 club that honors the NYPD. They would meet in a city just north of us. And he would take me, and it was one of his favorite things to do, to take me to this thing. I remember the very first time that I went, I'm walking in with him. He had this smile on his face. He told me the whole menu like 2-3 weeks in advance. He was excited. He loved the spaghetti and meatballs, but he really loved what they offered here. So we go in, and everyone would come up to me. Oh, what precinct are you from? Oh, I'm a little bit different. I work in an office. Oh, okay, that's cool. And then they go on to the next guy. Like, I think I was the only one in the room that was not, had no experience, and everyone else in the family, and they didn't seem too interested at first. But by the time I sat with them at the table, then they got to know me a little bit, but they brushed me off right away. They're like, who is this guy? But so many great memories. We go to spring training games a lot together, father and I. One of my favorite stories to share, because it's a tradition that Dad actually started. I didn't realize I picked up on it several years later, but we would always go to a spring training game on St. Patrick's Day. And my last ever game that I got to go to with Dad in spring training was now this. I went this past Monday. It was Mets against the Rays, and it was 67 degrees, right, which is really cool for a spring training game in Florida.
Wow!
But we had went to a game at Space Coast Stadium, and it was 102 degrees, and he ordered hot coffee and lost his ever-loving mind when he got to the counter, and they did not have any coffee made available for him. But it's on the menu. But sure, it's 102 degrees. And so they made it for him. We waited, and of course he drunk the thing. But so that was my last ever game, spring training. It was awesome. But so I want to talk a little baseball. I know we don't have too much time, so we'll get into it here a little bit. But my first question for you, Bobby, we'll start with pizza, if that's okay, because I know you're a pizza fan. And so down here in Florida, unfortunately, places like Domino's and Pizza Hut and Papa John's are like considered like the cream of the crop, and it's terrible. We actually have a couple places that are authentic, but every place in Palm Bay and where I live, New York style. No, it's not New York style. You can't just put that on the name of your place and it's actually New York style. There are one or two places that are good, but down here, for whatever reason, the sin of pizza is you either, we know you're a Marvel guy or you're not, or you're a Sega guy or a Nintendo guy or whatever, your PlayStation, Xbox, but you eat with pineapple on a pizza. You either are out of your mind crazy for liking it, or it's the best thing since sliced bread. Where do you fall on someone who comes from not from our area that has real pizza and you have much better options? What are your thoughts on pineapple on a pizza?
I think they should be arrested for that.
That's my point. No one's indifferent. No one will ever say it's okay. They're either going to say a comment like that, which is true, or they're going to defend it and tell you why you're wrong. So, Darren, what about you? Pineapple on pizza?
It's funny you mentioned.
Well, I lived in California for 16 years.
Miami Beach, I found pretty good.
Oh, did you?
Right.
Yeah. I lived in California
I found my.
We got a little broken up there. I was going to say, living in California, a lot of people like pineapple on their pizza. Not for me, and it's egregious. It's not good. It's like going to New York and not folding your slice. Like you see, you see, something's supposed to be New York, and they're holding it like this. No, you're not New York, and this is horrible, and you just lost any sort of believability. Get rid of it.
Yeah. So I have it sometimes because I have 2 children that'll only eat pepperoni pizza. So every once in a while, I'm like, I gotta have something else on the pizza. And when you go to most pizza places down here, you don't go to the counter and see 18 delicious options like you do in New York City. You get the cheese pizza that looks like it's been there since Tuesday, and then you get the white pizza, but that's in high demand, so they don't really have that one available. And then there's always like one specialty one, and they call it something fancy, but all they do is slap tomatoes on it, and that's literally all it is. But when you go to a New York place, you have options. You have buffalo chicken, you have margarita, grandma pie, which is one of the best ones. There's so many more options. So you'd be so disappointed down here. There are a couple. There is a place here called Brooklyn's Finest Pizza, which is actually probably the top. But yeah, unfortunately down here we don't really get a lot of good pizza down here, unfortunately. So I definitely miss that, and I make that a staple when I travel up north every time. So, but what is before we talk baseball a little bit, I'll start with you, Bobby and Darren. What is your go-to slice if you have a family member or friend and you get an opportunity to take them to your top pizza joint? Where is the place you go, and what is on that slice of pizza?
Right now, I'm big with the what's called the upside down slice, which is it's just the reverse of a typical slice, but they must put something on it also, because it tastes it's so good. Like it's the cheese is on the bottom and the sauce is on top, and they do something else with it. It's phenomenal. It's like a Sicilian phenomenal, and the margarita is great. I just had a really good margarita at a local Brooklyn place here. And, like you said, there are so many options. And I know people who stay in for the food. They don't like other things about it, but they'll stay for the food, And it's true, you're very spoiled here, food-wise. It doesn't mean there aren't bad places. There are, but there are just so many other places that it just overwhelms the bad places,
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, right now, the upside down and the margarita right now are phenomenal. They're just phenomenal.
Yeah, and I love the margarita pizza.
You know what I mean? Those are my top 2, right?
Yeah, and I love the margarita pizza. And there are some places down here that will do it, but I've seen a few where they call it a margarita pizza, but they literally just slap tomatoes on there. None of the other ingredients that's supposed to be on a margarita. They think they can get away with it. It's like, no, that's not a margarita pizza. It's a tomato pizza. But Darren, same question.
It's a tomato. Yeah.
So I live in Cape Cod. The pizza's okay. It's not New York pizza. For me, I love the traditional slice. I like a bit of a flop to my slice where you have to kind of go like this to get it. I like, and when you take that bite, there's some cheese that just, it's kind of connecting and you got to pull it out. I prefer my pizza not too hot, just perfect. And the crust, don't put anything in the crust, give me a good crust. And, that's what I want. I want a traditional slice. Now, I love the grandma. We talked about that on the other podcast. I love that. And a good Sicilian, like you went to a place not too long ago on West Street, I think it was, Bobby, that you reviewed that looked really, really good. A good Sicilian slice.
Yeah, yeah, I did. It just never ends. You know what I mean? There's so many choices. You could just go to another place. And you just go, okay, now what's the next place? You just take it for granted. We don't know that, and the different neighborhoods you can go to that has this and that, and that's just staying within a borough. If you go to like then Manhattan or Queens or the Bronx or a lot of pizza on Staten Island, and it's just a never-ending bonanza. It really is. It just never stops. Where you guys got nothing. Sorry.
Yeah, we have to travel long distances to get something average. But I always like, and we'll move to baseball here in just a minute, and we'll talk more in a future podcast. But the last thing I'll say, one of the best television sitcoms, King of Queens. I'll never forget the episode where the family is sitting at the table with the large pizza, and Doug's had his share of slices, and Arthur's had his, and Carrie had her one, and they're doing the pizza math. There's one slice left. They're doing the pizza math, and Doug is like, all right, she's out right now because she's already had her slice, and he's already had this, and so Arthur's doing the same thing, and then Carrie's like, oh, I'll make this interesting, and then she winds up taking the last slice, and because we've all been there where it's like you're out with buddies, you're out with family, whatever, and there's one slice left, and you guiltily want that last slice, so you're eliminating people in your mind that shouldn't be up for contention,
Right.
and someone comes out of nowhere and gets the last one, and you just smile like, oh, it's fine, I'm not hungry anymore. Meanwhile, you're wanting to get
slice. Yeah.
You gotta hire a hitman for that.
Yes. So
it's very true, Mike.
So transitioning, it's hard to move from pieces of baseball, but we're going to just go for it. So the 2025 baseball season upon us, like I said, we're 1 week away. Darren and I have been tackling the 30 parks in 30 days, kind of previewing who we think our playoff teams are, who are not, and what teams are going to go far this year. So far, to catch you up to speed, Bobby, on the American League side, we were really high on the Yankees, but that was before that we said from day one, once they had their first injury, that moves them down a few pegs. There's really no like front runner for us. I don't believe. Boston's a little bit better than they were. You have Kansas City should still be good again. Detroit's a little bit better. They don't feel like there's that one team. Texas is going to be better than they were. So it's really hard for me to pinpoint who the American League representative is going to be. On the National League side, there's some teams that can sneak in there, but it feels like the Dodgers are going to win 123 games by August. But so your thoughts, if you had to today, March 20th, 1 week before the season, who are your NL and AL championship games, and then who goes to the World Series?
Well, you summed it up. I mean, that's pretty much what you mentioned the Dodgers. I mean, like you said, the American League is kind of an open range. You know what I mean? The Yankees are certainly, up there and all that, but it could be anybody. You know what I mean? Although on the American League side, I mean, so I think it's just kind of open right now. National, like you said, I think the Dodgers are crushing it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So let me ask you, Bobby, who do you think will be a surprise team? So not win the championship, not even maybe go to the championship series, but like I picked, and Mike was saying I got some flack over this. I picked the Angels for making the playoffs. They'll make the playoffs and then get eliminated right away. So like I have that surprise team. I think that another surprise is that the Astros are going to take a step back. I think the Braves will take a step back. What are your surprises, positive and negative?
How about the Mets? What do you think?
So you think they're overinflated?
I'm asking you guys. What do you think about the Mets?
I think the Mets win. I think if they stay injury free, they win the division.
Yeah, I think they're too talented to not.
I
think more highly of the rotation than others do. They're not what they should be, but I think they have enough pitching, and they're going to score enough runs in a division where they're going to beat up on the Nationals. They're going to beat up on a Braves that are not as good. They're going to beat up on the Marlins, of course. But I just like their chances. I know if I guess I see the Dodgers and Mets again in the NL Championship. And I feel like the Mets will be a little bit more competitive this time around, but the Dodgers have such good starting pitching. And these first two games, they didn't even have Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman. So too many injuries and the Mets will move down a peg. But I think, I think that highly of this year's Mets team, that they could be the team right behind the Dodgers once again this year, barring major injuries. I don't like the fact that we already lost Alvarez in spring training. But and I'm not a big Frankie Montas guy. I think Sean Manaea is much bigger loss. Hopefully he gets back sooner than later.
Me too.
But I think the Mets are not the third place team, the fourth place team that they used to be. They're just too talented. Unless one of those first. Now I am concerned about the positioning of the batting order. It seems a little weird to me. We talked about Nimmo is projected to bat fourth. I think the best player on this team on the New York Mets team, the guy that's going to have the most home runs at the end of the season is Mark Vientos. And I said this to Darren. I said, Vientos had the year he did last year, not even playing 2 months. Alonso had that same year, his initial year, and he was the best thing since sliced bread. Not enough people are talking about Vientos. They're already automatically sliding him as 5th on the team, but I think that's a mistake. Now, it could be a sophomore slump for sure. This guy deserves the recognition. He deserves to be in the lineup every day. So I think him alone, more than the other guys, are the reason why they're going to finish, because, we're all taking for granted what Lindor is going to do and Alonso and all this stuff. But what he brings to the table in a full season instead of a 4-month season is the difference maker for me.
How about you, Bobby?
I mean, we're excuse me. I'm sorry. I think that, with the Mets, Darren and I know are longtime Mets fans, and let's face it, there's been a lot of heartbreak, a lot of, we've, being in the town with the Yankees, obviously dominated for so long. And it's just nice to promote the Mets a little bit outside of, when they were great in the 80s or, it's been a long run. Like with football, I'm a Raiders fan, and back in the day, they were a phenomenal team, and then outside of the Gruden years, we've had a rough, it's been rough. You know what I mean? So with the Mets too, it's just a lot of it's nostalgia. You know what I mean? You go back and these are the teams you grew up with as a kid. Even though, let's face it, like things in life, but you're like, wow, you'll always hold on to that kid in you, So that's, the Mets are, it's just, I'm always like, there's always the hope, there's always the hope.
Always hope and looking forward to being able to, not that we always will have the 86 team a part of our hearts, but I want the day when the Mets win the World Series, where we can say, okay, we can put 86 not to bed. It always can be in the rear view mirror instead of like always there. Like we're looked at as, it's not 86 anymore. So that's why I want the championship so bad, is because there's been a lot of good teams since 86, but let's let that rest for a little while and not go to it as much. That way we can appreciate it more, for what it was.
Bobby, I know we're wrapping up soon.
You know what?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Getting a little bit old school. I thought the Mets team of '99 is phenomenal. They got knocked out by the Braves, but I thought that was better than the 2000 team.
That was the team.
I remember I used to go to those games, and remember Roger Cedeno and Ricky Henderson. They were a running team that year.
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought throwing the other guy had it more than the one that went up against the Yankees. I was agreed. You can be a legendary team and not get to the World Series. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I love that team.
That's a great point, Bobby, because the 2000 Mets team, although they went against the Yankees, has there ever been a major league outfield, maybe besides the San Francisco Giants when they won the pennant with the Misfits that one year, with Timo Perez, Jay Payton, and Benny Agbayani were their outfield, and they made it to the World Series. So that you made your point, the 99 team.
Great point, Bobby. It's true.
Yeah. So great point. And so listen, I know time-wise, unfortunately, we're out. So this is what we're going to do. This was part 1 of our talk with Rob. We're going to get a full 60 minutes out of here.
This was a taste. This was an appetizer.
Yes.
This was the mozzarella sticks.
Yes. Yes. I definitely want to dive into, yes. So much to talk about. So thank each of you guys for watching. I see a bunch of you guys on X right now and a few on Facebook. So thank you for watching. Keep an eye out because, like I said, we will have part 2 of shenanigans. And once that baseball season starts, we'll have so much more to talk about. A couple topics that I wanted to talk today that we couldn't get to, but we will definitely. Thank you, Bobby, for jumping on. Darren, as always, this was episode number 69 of the Around the Ballpark podcast. We are just 50 some odd subscribers away from 2,000 subscribers. So please continue subscribing, find people, force them to subscribe, whatever you got to do. We need the subs. But thank you guys so much. And until next time, we will see you around the ballpark.